do think that everybody deserves an explanation.
More than 100 landowners are just finding out they owe the city of Granite Shoals thousands of dollars. The city paved streets there in the 1970s and 80s and mailed landowners bills for that work.
Those debts long ago turned into liens. As KXAN investigator Jody Barr uncovered, the city's collecting debts it should have forgiven 13 years ago.
Those letters told them the city had a lien on their property and they'd have to pay up to clear the title to their own land. Now, an attorney we showed this to says the city is illegally collecting these debts, and those who've paid, well, they'll never get their money back.
This started for us in May of 2016.
Patty and Chris Hansen were forced into a research project 3 years ago, hours away from selling a piece of their Twilight Lane property. Their title company dropped some expensive news. The city of Granite Shoals put a $7,800 lien on their property back in 1986.
How could that be possible? This property has been in our family since the property existed, and we pay our bills. So it just didn't make sense that how could there possibly be a lien that we didn't know about or were never notified about over decades.
City records show a bill that started out at $765 exploded to more than $7,800 in 2016. In the mid-'80s, the city paved the road that touched the Hansens' property. It belonged to their grandfather at the time. The city charged every property owner along the paving route for the work.
I have a picture.
Hansen says she couldn't get an explanation from the city and kept digging.
My husband and his siblings are in this tree, and this is Twilight Lane right here, back in 1967.
It looks paved.
It does to me too. So that's another thing. We don't understand what these liens are for.
The Hansens were likely paying for a repaving project. For more than 30 years, those debts sat inside a folder in City Hall. With interest tacked on, some of those debts exploded to 10 times the original amount. The city says it didn't know how big of a problem it had until the Hansens walked through the door in 2016. Did these come as a surprise to you in the beginning?
Yeah, it came as a surprise to the entire city council that there were that many still out there.
City manager Jeff Looney found 7 road paving ordinances between 1979 and 1986. Each detailed separate paving projects across the city and named each property owner who did not pay their bill. In August, City Council ordered Looney to send letters to those landowners. Looney's notes show within a week, people started showing up to City Hall to pay. The city contends the letters were not collection letters.
We just wanted to make sure that folks have the information.
So far, city records show 14 different landowners paid the city $20,000 since Looney's letters went out.
If the government tells you you owe money, most people figure they're right. In this case, Granite Shoals is wrong.
Austin real estate attorney Bill Gammon says the city's breaking the law. Gammon says Granite Shoals had until 2006 to collect those paving debts.
They've got 20 years to collect their real property tax. 20 years. If you can't get it done in 20 years, the legislature says take it off the books.
Any of the legal advice that you all received from your attorney, did your attorney ever mention the Texas tax code to you all?
I don't recall that offhand.
Section 33.05 spells out a limitation on collection of taxes, and it says personal property may not be seized and a suit may not be filed to collect a tax on real property that has been delinquent more than 20 years. The city's attorney, did he ever bring that up as a point?
I've never seen that at all.
Again, the attorney we interviewed argued that the city of Granite Shoals is actually doing a disservice to the citizens, and as he put it, he believes the city's being dishonest by collecting this tax that should have been written off the books, in some cases 25 years ago. Do you agree with that?
I don't know all the circumstances legally the way it goes. I think for me, I'd have to talk to our attorney more, but again, I don't think a lien is the same thing as a tax.
If you find out that you all were wrong, how do you deal with that attorney moving forward?
Well, that'll be a council decision.
Could be an embarrassing situation, I guess.
It could be.
And just for clarity,
Taxpayers, though, are still demanding answers. At this city council meeting last week, one person wanted to know which state law allows the city to continue collecting on those debts.
It's mostly, it's the transportation code. I think it's chapter 331, but I want to check and make sure.
The city's attorney could not name the exact law.
Why did you pay it?
Because we wouldn't have been able to sell our property because it had a lien on it.
Did you ever get an apology from the city?
No,
Think you're owed one?
I do. I think everybody is. Not just us, everybody in the whole city.
Well, the attorney we interviewed told me if you pay these liens, you will never get that money back. That's because he says under Texas law, if you pay a tax you don't owe, you can't get a refund. We're still waiting on the city manager about that legal advice when it comes to the 20-year deadline. We'll be checking back this week for an answer.
To see if your property is on Granite Shoals list, head to our website.
we have the database along with city paving records from 40 years ago. It's all in the investigative section at kxan.com.